Welcome to Module 2, Cloud Economics and Billing. This module will address the fundamentals of pricing, including total cost of ownership. We will also introduce AWS organizations and AWS billing and cost management. Finally, we will present an overview of AWS technical support plans and costs. In addition to these topics, there are several resources available online and offline, including a demonstration that will show you how to interact with the billing dashboard. There is also a knowledge check to test your understanding of the key concepts covered in this module. After completing this module, you should be able to explain the AWS pricing philosophy, recognize fundamental pricing characteristics, indicate the elements of total cost of ownership, and discuss the results of the AWS pricing calculator. You should also be able to identify how to set up an organizational structure that simplifies billing and account visibility to review cost data and to identify the functionality in the AWS billing dashboard. Finally, you should be able to describe how to use AWS Bills, AWS Cost Explorer, AWS Budgets, AWS Cost and Usage Reports, and to identify the various AWS technical support plans and features. We're set to go. Let's get started.
Welcome. This video will cover the fundamentals of AWS pricing. There are three fundamental drivers of cost with AWS: compute, storage, and outbound data transfer. These properties change a bit depending on the AWS product. In most cases, there is no charge for inbound data transfer. Data that you put into AWS is free. Also, data transfer between services in the same region is free. For outbound data transfers, it is aggregated across services and then charged at the outbound data transfer rate. This charge appears on the monthly statement as AWS Data Transfer Out. While the number of services have increased dramatically, our philosophy on pricing has not changed. At the end of each month, you pay for what you use. You can start or stop using a service at any time. There are no long-term contracts required. For each service, you pay exactly for the amount of resources that you actually use. This utility-style pricing model dictates that you pay for what you use, pay less when you use more, and pay even less as AWS grows. We will now take a closer look at the core concepts of pricing. In terms of implementing a data center, you might have spent too much time and money building them. With AWS, you pay only for the services that you consume with no large upfront expenses. You can lower operational costs, so you no longer need to dedicate valuable resources to building costly infrastructure. This will save you from purchasing servers or leasing facilities. You can then focus on innovation for your business by paying only for what you use and for as long as you use it. All services are available on demand, require no upfront payment or long-term contracts. You can get volume-based discounts and realize important savings as your usage increases. For services like Amazon S3, pricing is tiered, which means that you pay less per gigabyte when you use more. You benefit from the economies of scale that enable you to increase adoption and keep costs under control. As your organization evolves, AWS provides services that help you meet your needs. For example, the AWS Storage Services offers options to help you lower pricing based on how frequently you access your data. To optimize your savings, you can choose the right combination of storage solutions while preserving performance, security, and durability. AWS constantly focuses on reducing costs and improving operational efficiencies. These optimizations and the growing economies of scale result in savings back to you. AWS has lowered pricing 75 times as of September 2019. Another benefit of AWS growth is that future, higher performing resources replace current ones for no extra charge. AWS realizes that every customer has different needs. If none of the AWS pricing models work for your project, custom pricing is available for high volume projects with unique requirements. To help new AWS customers get started in the cloud, AWS offers the AWS free tier for up to 1 year. If you are a new AWS customer, you can run a free Amazon EC2 T2 Micro instance for a year free of charge, while also using a free usage tier for Amazon S3 and for Amazon EBS for storage and other AWS services. AWS also offers services for no additional charge, such as Amazon VPC, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, Autoscaling, AWS CloudFormation, and AWS Identity and Access Management. There is no charge for these services, but there might be charges associated with the resources they provision. For example, when you automatically scale additional EC2 instances, there will be charges for those instances. The autoscaling service is free. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Welcome to Section 2, Total Cost of Ownership. Many businesses ask, how do you compare on-premises versus cloud implementations? The difference between these two options is how they're deployed. An on-premises infrastructure is installed on a company's own computers and servers. There are several fixed costs, also known as capital expenses, that are associated with this traditional infrastructure. Capital expenses include facilities, hardware, licenses, and maintenance staff. Scaling up can be expensive and time-consuming. Scaling down does not reduce fixed costs. A cloud infrastructure is purchased from a service provider who builds and maintains the facilities, hardware, and maintenance staff. A customer pays for what is used. Scaling up or down is simple. Costs are easy to estimate because they depend on service use. It is difficult to compare an on-premises IT delivery model with the AWS cloud. The two are different because they use different concepts and terms. To evaluate an on-premise solution, consider capital expenditure and long planning cycles. This model requires multiple components to buy, build, manage, and refresh resources over time. Evaluation of AWS Cloud involves a discussion about flexibility, agility, and consumption-based costs. So how can you identify the best option? You can identify the best option by comparing the on-premises solution to a cloud solution. Total cost of ownership, or TCO, is a financial estimate intended to help buyers and owners determine the direct and indirect costs of a product or system. TCO includes the cost of a service, plus all the costs that are associated with owning the service. In the cloud environment, TCO is used to compare the cost of running an entire infrastructure environment for a specific workload in an on-premises or colocation facility to the same workload running on a cloud-based infrastructure. Companies use this comparison for budgeting purposes or to make decisions about the optimal deployment solution. Some of the costs associated with data center management include server costs for both hardware and software, and facilities costs to house the equipment, storage costs for the hardware, administration, and facilities, network costs for hardware, administration, and facilities, and IT labor costs that are required to administer the entire solution. When you compare an on-premises to a cloud solution, it is important to accurately assess the true cost of both options. With the cloud, most costs are upfront and readily calculated. For example, cloud providers give transparent pricing based on different usage metrics, such as RAM, storage, and bandwidth, among others. Pricing is often fixed per unit of time. Customers gain certainty over pricing and are then able to readily calculate costs based on several different usage estimates. Compare this process to on-premises technology. Though they're sometimes difficult to determine, calculations of in-house cost must take into account both direct costs that accompany running a server, like power, floor space, storage, and IT operations to manage those resources, as well as indirect costs of running a server, like network and storage infrastructure. This diagram is conceptual, and it does not include every cost item. Depending on the solution you are implementing, software costs can include database, management, and middle-tier costs. Facilities costs can include upgrades, maintenance, building security, taxes, and so on. IT labor costs can include security administration and application administration costs. This diagram includes an abbreviated list to demonstrate the type of costs that are involved in data center maintenance. Here's a sample cost comparison. This example shows a cost comparison for an on-premises solution and a cloud solution over 3 years. For this comparison, 2 similar environments were constructed to represent the on-premises and AWS environments. Additional direct and indirect costs that are associated with the on-premises solution were not included. The components of the on-premises solution include one virtual machine with 4 CPUs, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a Linux operating system. Average utilization is 100%, optimized by RAM. The components of a comparable AWS environment include one M4.extra large instance with 4 CPUs, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the instance type is a 3-year partial upfront reserved instance. The on-premises 3-year total cost is $167,422. The AWS Cloud 3-year total cost is $7,509, which is a 96% savings over the on-premises solution. Thus, the 3-year total savings using cloud infrastructure would be $159,913. This comparison helps a business clearly understand the differences between the alternatives. What is the difference in the costs? Remember, the on-premises solution is predicted. It continues to incur costs whether the capacity is used. In contrast, the AWS solution is commissioned when needed and decommissioned when the resources are no longer in use, which results in lower overall costs. AWS offers the AWS Pricing Calculator to help you estimate a monthly AWS bill. You can use this tool to explore AWS services and create an estimate for the cost of your use cases on AWS. You can model your solutions before building them, explore the price points and calculations behind your estimate, and find the available instance types and contract terms that meet your needs. This enables you to make informed decisions about using AWS. You can plan your AWS costs and usage or price out setting up a new set of instances and services. The AWS Pricing Calculator helps you estimate monthly cost of AWS services, identify opportunities for cost reduction, and model your solutions before building them. It also allows you to explore price points and calculations behind your estimate and find the available instance types and contract terms that meet your needs. The AWS Pricing Calculator enables you to name your estimate and to create and name groups of services. Groups are containers that you add services to in order to organize and build your estimate. You can organize your groups and services by cost center, department, product architecture, and so forth. AWS Pricing Calculator estimates are displayed in multiple ways. The total for your first 12 months is the total estimate for your current group and all of the services and groups in your current group. It combines the upfront and monthly estimates. Your total upfront is how much you're estimated to pay upfront as you set up your AWS stack. Your total monthly is the monthly estimated spend while you run your AWS stack. Within a group, you can see the estimated cost for each service. If you want to price out different ways to build your AWS setup, you can use different groups for each variation of your setup and compare the estimates for the different setups. Hard benefits include reduced spending on compute, storage, networking, and security. They also include reductions in hardware and software purchases, reductions in operational costs, backup, and disaster recovery, and a reduction in operations personnel. Cloud total cost of ownership defines what will be spent on the technology after adoption, or what it costs to run the solution. Typically, a TCO analysis looks at the as-is on-premises infrastructure and compares it with the cost of the to-be infrastructure state in the cloud. While this difference might be easy to calculate, it might only provide a narrow view of the total financial impact of moving to the cloud. A return on investment analysis, or ROI, can be used to determine the value that is generated while considering spending and saving. This analysis starts by identifying the hard benefits in terms of direct and visible cost reductions and efficiency improvements. Next, soft savings are identified. Soft savings are value points that are challenging to accurately quantify, but they can be more valuable than the hard savings. It's important for you to understand both hard and soft benefits to understand the full value of the cloud. Soft benefits include reusing services and applications that enable you to define and redefine solutions by using the same cloud service. There is also an increase in developer productivity as well as improved customer satisfaction. Further, agile business processes can quickly respond to new and emerging opportunities and allow increased global reach. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Welcome. This video will review a case study on the total cost of ownership for Delaware North, a major food and hospitality company. Delaware North originated in 1915 as a peanut and popcorn concessions vendor. Today, it's a leader in the food service and hospitality industry. Delaware North serves more than 500 million customers annually at more than 200 locations around the world, resulting in $3 billion in annual sales. The company's on-premises data center was becoming too expensive and inefficient to support its global business operations. Delaware North had to constantly upgrade aging equipment in order to rapidly deploy new solutions to meet customer requirements. The CIO stated Delaware North needed to find a better solution. They turned to AWS. In 2013, Delaware North migrated 50 websites to AWS as a test bed. They conducted an evaluation to see if they could move all of their workloads to AWS. The evaluation process centered on 3 criteria. First, a cloud solution needed a broad set of technologies that could handle all of Delaware North's enterprise workloads while delivering support for critical functions. From an operational perspective, Delaware North wanted the features and flexibility to modify core IT processes to improve efficiencies and lower costs. Finally, financial requirements needed to demonstrate a return on investment for moving away from their existing data center environment. A cost comparison completed by Delaware North demonstrated that it could save $3.5 million based on a 5-year run rate by moving its on-premises data center to AWS. Their CIO noted that the deep technology stack available on AWS was more than sufficient to meet the company's technical requirements. Delaware North saved at least $3.5 million over 5 years by reducing their server hardware by more than 90%. The most dramatic physical change was the elimination of 205 servers. Everything that ran on that hardware was migrated to AWS. About 6 months into its cloud migration, Delaware North realized benefits to its data center consolidation, security compliance, disaster recovery, and faster deployment times for new services. By leveraging the security best practices of AWS, Delaware North was able to eliminate a lot of compliance tasks that in the past took up valuable time and money. The solution helps Delaware North operate with greater speed and agility. It used to take between 2 and 3 weeks to provision new business units. Now it only takes 1 day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Welcome. This video will cover AWS organizations. Depending on the size of your business, sometimes it is easier to assign separate AWS accounts to each department or team. This will allow for the spending of each group to have a clear and defined report about their use and expenses. When this happens, we need a service which ties all of these separate accounts together. We use AWS Organizations for consolidated billing of multiple accounts. AWS Organizations is a free account management service that enables you to consolidate multiple AWS accounts into an organizational tree, with each branch representing a department or team. AWS Organizations include consolidated billing and organization security management capabilities. Here is some terminology to understand the structure of AWS Organizations. The diagram shows a basic organization, or root, that consists of 7 accounts that are organized into 4 organizational units, or OUs. An OU is a branch for accounts. A branch can also contain other branches. no different than a regular tree. This hierarchy is like an upside-down tree with the root at the top. A branch can have only one parent, and each account can be a member of exactly one branch. An account is a standard AWS account that contains your AWS resources. In general, AWS Organizations enables you to do more than just consolidate accounts for billing. You can also use it to apply security controls to one or more of the accounts represented. AWS Organizations does not replace associating AWS identity and access management policies with users, groups, and roles within an AWS account. With IAM policies, you can allow or deny access to AWS services. An IAM policy can be applied only to IAM users, groups, or roles, and it cannot restrict the AWS account itself. In contrast, with organizations, you use service control policies to allow or deny access to particular AWS services for AWS accounts directly or as a group of accounts in a branch. The specified actions from an attached service control policy affect the entire account, including all IAM users, groups, and roles for the account. It also includes the AWS account root user. Keep in mind that this process assumes that you have access to 2 or more existing AWS accounts and that you can sign into each account as an administrator. Review these steps for setting up AWS organizations. Step 1 is to create your organization with your current AWS account as the primary account. You also invite one AWS account to join your organization and create another account as a member account. Step 2 is to create 2 organizational units in your new organization and place the member accounts in those OUs. Step 3 is to create service control policies, which enable you to apply restrictions to what actions can be delegated to users and roles in the member accounts. A service control policy is a type of organizational control policy. Step 4 is to test your organization's policies. Sign in as a user for each of the roles, such as OU1 or OU2, and see how the service control policies impact account access. Alternatively, you can use the IAM Policy Simulator to test and troubleshoot IAM and resource-based policies that are attached to IAM users, groups, or roles in your AWS account. Like other services, AWS organizations can be managed through different interfaces. The AWS Management Console is a browser-based interface that you can use to manage your organization and your AWS resources. You can perform any task in your organization by using the console. AWS command line interface tools enable you to issue commands at your system's command line to perform AWS organization's tasks. This method can be faster and more convenient than using the console. You can also use AWS software development kits to handle tasks such as cryptographically signing requests, managing errors, and retrying requests automatically. AWS SDKs consist of libraries and sample code for various programming languages and platforms, such as Java, Python, Ruby, .NET, iOS, and Android. The AWS Organizations HTTPS Query API gives you programmatic access to AWS Organizations. You can use the API to issue HTTPS requests directly to the service. When you use the HTTPS API, you must include code to digitally sign requests by using your credentials. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Welcome. This video will cover AWS Billing Tools. AWS Billing and Cost Management is a service that you use to pay your AWS bill, monitor your usage, and budget your expenses. Billing and Cost Management enables you to forecast and obtain a better idea of what your costs and usage might be in the future so that you can plan ahead. You can set a custom time period and determine whether you would like to view your data at a monthly or daily level of granularity. With the filtering and grouping functionality, you can further analyze your data using a variety of available dimensions. The AWS Cost and Usage Report tool enables you to identify opportunities for optimization by understanding your cost and usage data trends and how you are using your AWS implementation. The AWS Billing Dashboard lets you view the status of your month-to-date AWS expenses and identify the services that account for the majority of your overall monthly bill. You can also understand at a high level how costs are trending. One of the graphs that is located on the dashboard is the spend summary. The spend summary shows you how much you spent last month, the estimated costs of your AWS usage for the month to date, and a forecast for how much you are likely to spend this month. Another graph is month-to-date spend by service, which shows the top services that you use most and the proportion of costs that are attributed to that service. From the billing dashboard, you can access several other cost management tools that you can use to estimate and plan your AWS expenses. These tools include AWS Budgets, AWS Cost and Usage Reports, and AWS Cost Explorer. There is also the AWS Bills page. The AWS Bills page lists the costs that you incurred over the past month for each AWS service, with a further breakdown by AWS region and linked account. This tool gives you access to the most up-to-date information on your costs and usage, including your monthly bill and the detailed breakdown of your AWS services that you use. The AWS Billing and Cost Management console includes the Cost Explorer page for viewing your AWS cost data at a graph. With Cost Explorer, you can visualize, understand, and manage your AWS costs and usage over time. The Cost Explorer includes a default report that visualizes for your AWS services. The monthly running costs report gives you an overall view of all your costs for the past 3 months. It also provides forecasted numbers for the coming month with a corresponding confidence interval. You can also use AWS Budgets to create notifications for when you go over your budget for the month. Budgets can be tracked at the monthly, quarterly, or yearly level, and you can customize the start and end dates. Budget alerts can be sent via email or via Amazon Simple Notification Service, Amazon SNS. The AWS Cost and Usage Report is a single location for accessing comprehensive information about your AWS costs and usage. This tool lists the usage for each service category that is used by an account and its users in hourly or daily line items, and any tax that you activated for tax allocation purposes. You can have AWS publish billing reports to an S3 bucket. These reports can be updated once a day. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
Welcome. Today we will look at the AWS Billing Dashboard. You can reach the Billing Dashboard from the AWS homepage by using the My Account drop-down menu. In this case, we've created a temporary account for me called Matt Billing. As I scroll down, it's My Billing Dashboard. Click on the link, and it opens up the Billing and Cost Management Dashboard, which shows a summary in a single view of my costs associated with this particular account. In this case, on the right-hand side, we have the month-to-date spend by service. So it gives you a nice overview to see which particular services are incurring the most costs. In the middle, it also gives you the spend summary. So the middle bar here is the month-to-date. And then I have a forecast based upon the current usage this month. And I also have a historical perspective where I can look and see what happened last month to see where we're at. If I'd like to dive deeper into the costs associated with this account, I click Cost Explorer. Cost Explorer brings up the current costs in the month along with forecasted month-end costs. It shows me how much it's increased or decreased over the month, and I can go ahead and click Explore Costs. By exploring costs, it drops down. By the way, before I do that, look on the right-hand side. It shows the December trends. So SageMaker costs are up. And so we can go ahead also see by region that costs are up. As I click Explore Costs, I now have the ability along the top to categorize and drive down deeper into the costs. So for example, I can look at costs per region. Here it shows that US West, Oregon, is where we're incurring the most costs. I could go ahead and look at an instance type, for example. M4 Large Elasticsearch is incurring the most costs within this account. T2 Micro, T1 Micro, not as much. So you can look at it by instance type. I can also click service to see how I'm incurring costs per service. The nice thing is if my boss came to me and said, Matt, I need a report. Can you give me a report on how much our costs have been over the year to date within this account? I can click New Report. That would be a cost and usage reports. I have other options in terms of reports. I click Create Report. Drop-down menu under last 3 months gives me the option here for year to date, along with 1 year, 6 months, or I can do a custom. So I'm going to do year to date. I click Apply, and now it does show me the costs incurred here per month. And it does show on the bottom here that June and July we incurred a high amount of cost. July $1,400 and in June $1,600, almost $1,700 in costs. So those were busy months. In this case, I happen to know that we were developing a new class, and that's why we incurred those types of usage within June and July in this particular account. So I can go ahead and click Save As. I can entitle the report. So year-to-date costs. Oh, and I happen to already create this one. So year-to-date costs for Matt Billing account, let's say. I can click Save Report. And now that report has been saved. Over here on the left-hand side, there's a saved reports. So there are a whole bunch of different reports that I can go ahead and look at. I can go ahead and even create reports from here. So here's my report that I did create. And of course, it's the same view we saw earlier. The last thing to look at is budgets. Budgets allow us to go in from a cost perspective or from a usage perspective to go ahead and set up a budget that will allow us to trigger an alert when we exceed that budget. So we can set the parameters. In this case, there's a monthly budget. It's associated with cost. It gives us the current cost, and it's budgeted to $300. Forecasted $294. And then it tells us overview where we're at. If I click on this monthly budget, it gives me an overview of what's actually incurred, and it shows the alert. So the alert that was set up when this budget was created was the actual costs exceed by 10% the budgeted amount. In this case, the budgeted amount is $300. The actual costs, if they exceed by 10%, which is $30, then this particular Amazon account or email account will be notified. And when that's notified, then you can go ahead and you know that something's occurring, and you can go in and handle it. It doesn't shut off anything or stop anything. It just gives you a warning. You can also do it by usage. So you can look at the usage of different services within your AWS account. So there's a lot of granularity here that you can go ahead and set up so that you can make sure that you're within your budgets. For example, this account's used to create classes, so we can make sure that in creating a particular class, in testing the labs, that we don't exceed a particular budget, in this case $300. That changes. Obviously, you saw earlier in the year that we incurred a lot more costs because it was a different kind of class that was more resource intensive. And so that would obviously require us to change the budget, or we would constantly be getting alerts because, as you saw before, back in June and July, it was $1,700 and $1,500 incurred of costs, and the budget's here, it's just set for $300. So budgets allow you to go in and actually keep track and get a better overview of the costs you're incurring within your AWS account. Thank you, and have a great day.
Welcome. This video will cover AWS technical support plans. Whether you are new or continue to adopt AWS services and applications as your business solutions, AWS wants to help you do amazing things. AWS support can provide you with a unique combination of tools and expertise based on your current and future use cases. Support was developed to provide the right resources to help you succeed. We want to support all our customers, including customers that might just be experimenting with AWS. The idea is for you to be able to plan, deploy, and optimize with confidence. For account assistance, the Support Concierge is a billing and account expert who will provide quick and efficient analysis on billing and account issues. The Concierge addresses all non-technical billing and account level inquiries. If you want to ensure that you follow best practices in your AWS environment, you can use AWS Trusted Advisor. AWS Trusted Advisor is an automated service that acts like a customized cloud expert. It is an online resource that checks for opportunities to reduce monthly expenditures and increase productivity. Trusted Advisor tells you what you are doing right. It tells you where you need to watch out, and it also points out what needs to be corrected because it represents a problem in your implementation. You want to leverage Trusted Advisor as much as possible during your implementation in order to make sure you get things done right the first time. If you would like proactive guidance, AWS Support has Technical Account Managers, also known as TAMs, who are designated as your primary point of contact. The TAM can provide guidance, architectural review, and continuous ongoing communication to keep you informed and prepared as you plan, deploy, and optimize your solutions. Please note a Technical Account Manager is only available via the Enterprise Support Plan. AWS Support offers 4 plans. They are Basic, Developer, Business, and Enterprise. The Basic plan is free of charge and offers support for account and billing questions and service limit increases. The other plans offer an unlimited number of technical support cases with pay-by-the-month pricing and no long-term contracts. Customers with a developer support plan have access to additional features including best practice guidance, client-side diagnostic tools, building block architecture support, which means guidance on how to use AWS products, features, and services together. Business or enterprise support plans have access to more advanced support features, including full access to AWS Trusted Advisor and use case guidance. With business or enterprise support, you also get access to an API for interacting with Support Center and Trusted Advisor. This API allows for automated support case management and Trusted Advisor operations. Exclusive to the enterprise support plan, you have access to a Technical Account Manager, white glove case routing, application architecture guidance, management business reviews, and infrastructure event management support. AWS wants you to be able to plan, deploy, and optimize with confidence. You get to select the plan that best fits your needs. In addition to understanding the costs and features of the different support plans, it is critical that you understand the service levels that are associated with each. In addition to the support plan you select, the case severity will drive the type of response that you receive. There are 5 different severity levels. Critical. Your business is at risk. Critical functions of your application are unavailable. Urgent. Your business is significantly impacted. Important functions of your application are unavailable. High. Important functions of your application are impaired or degraded. Normal. Non-critical functions of your application are behaving abnormally, or you have a time-sensitive development question. Low. You have a general development question, or you want to request a feature. Note that there is no case support with the basic support plan. Keep the response times in mind when you determine which support plan is best for your organization. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
It's now time to review the module and wrap up with a discussion of a practice certification exam question. In this module, you explored the fundamentals of AWS pricing, reviewed total cost of ownership concepts, and reviewed an AWS pricing calculator estimate. Total cost of ownership is a concept to help you understand and compare the costs that are associated with different deployments. AWS provides the AWS pricing calculator to assist you with the calculations needed to estimate cost savings. Use the AWS pricing calculator to estimate monthly costs and identify opportunities to reduce monthly costs. The AWS pricing calculator enables you to model your solutions before building them, explore price points and calculations behind your estimate, and find the available instance types and contracts that meet your needs. AWS Billing and Cost Management provides you with tools to help you access, understand, allocate, control, and optimize your AWS costs and usage. These tools include AWS Bills, AWS Cost Explorer, AWS Budgets, and AWS Cost and Usage Reports. These tools give you access to the most comprehensive information about your AWS costs and usage, including identifying which AWS services are your main cost drivers. Knowing and understanding your usage and costs will enable you to plan and improve your AWS implementation. Let's take a look at a sample certification question. Which AWS service provides infrastructure security optimization recommendations? Look at the answer choices and rule them out based on the keywords we have highlighted. The keyword to recognize is recommendations. The correct answer is C, AWS Trusted Advisor. AWS Trusted Advisor provides real-time guidance to help you provision your resources following AWS best practices. It is an online tool that can help you optimize your AWS infrastructure, increase security and performance, reduce your overall costs, and monitor service limits. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.